Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President McFadden.
Here.
Councilmember Clifford.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Patterson. Here. President Scott.
Let the record reflect that we're joined by all of the council. Before we get started on introductory items, Ms. Mayor, I'd like to address you and the administration. I'm becoming more and more frustrated with our parking situation. Last month, I got a ticket after having the marker in my car. You guys did rip the ticket up. Today, it took me almost 15 minutes to find a spot. I had to park in the MBD guest spot. And I'm going to be very clear for all my colleagues here. When we're coming here to conduct business, we should not be fighting for a parking space. That is not acceptable. I'm hoping that you guys will fix that because you're forcing us to make decisions about parking when we don't need to make those decisions. And I'd hate to have to park in a parking space like yours or somebody else's.
I knew she was going to say that.
Thank you. Introductory item number 58, amending the budget to reflect the administration and city traffic violation agency. Comments, questions?
I do have a question. Thank you. And I'm sorry that I missed the briefing on this. I was out of town, but can we get a list of the violations that are covered by the traffic violations agency?
Sure, we can provide you with that.
Okay, that's great. And I'm assuming the tickets are being issued by RPD and troopers? Is that those
Correct.
are the agencies? So they've had to reprint tickets, I'm assuming, and have some training.
Who had to reprint tickets?
Wouldn't the tickets need to be reprinted, telling people how to deal with your tickets?
The state DMV will take care of that.
Okay.
They will contact anyone that has an outstanding ticket and inform them that
Let them know what the new-
that the service has been transferred over to the city of Rochester and that they need to contact us. And then they will give us that list of all the tickets, and then we will contact them as well.
Okay.
And just to add to that, the new universal traffic uniform traffic tickets will have the new traffic violations agency as the jurisdiction.
Right. So I assume there'll be some confused people for a while till it gets out there. But okay, great. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 59, authorizing the LLC relating to the underground truck road. Comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Me again. I'm sorry.
You got to raise your hand higher.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just wondering, this tunnel, will this agreement have to be renegotiated based on whatever happens at Parcel 5? Will it serve Parcel 5?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
It served
So we'll-
Midtown, so it served Parcel 5.
We will approach that again at that time. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Move it, Mr. Chairman.
Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 60, authorizing an amendatory agreement for Uniform Relocation Act compliance services. Comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 61, authorizing grant applications for the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York for the Rundell Library Structural Terrace Improvements Phase 4 project. Comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 88, resolution approving reappointment to the Rochester Public Library Board of Trustees. Comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 89, resolution approving appointment to the Rochester Public Library Board of Trustees.
This is a difficult one, but I'll move it anyway.
This requires an amendment to
Oh,
correct
that's
the
right.
address.
Okay, so can I get a an amendment to amend the home address for Carol Lee Conklin's appointment to the Library Board of Trustees in the ordinance.
Motion for the amendment?
Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Now let's vote on the amended item, introductory 89, resolution approving appointment to the Rochester Public Library Board of Trustees. Comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 90, resolution approving reappointment of to the Rochester Public Library Board of Trustees. Comments, questions? Any-
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 91, establishing minority and women business enterprise goals and minority workforce participation goals. Comments?
Outstanding work. Thank you very much.
I concur. Any other comments, questions?
Excellent. I think this is excellent for our city, and I'm glad that we're moving in this direction.
If there are no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. About time. Introductory item number 95, authorizing a mandatory agreement for business process and project management services. Comment, questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Introductory item number 96, resolution approving appointments to the Board of Ethics. Comments, questions?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Is there any other business besides the parking issue to come before the committee? All right, we're adjourned.
At this time, I call the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot. Councilmember Ortiz. Vice President McFadden.
Here.
President Scott.
Introductory number 62, sale of real estate. Do we have any questions, concerns, or comments? Seeing no questions or concerns or comments, I ask for a motion to adopt. Do I have a second? Okay. All right. At this time, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No opposition? Motion carries. Introductory number 63, sale of a portion of real estate and granting of an access easement, 36 South Avenue. Questions, concerns, or comments? No questions or concerns or comments. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. RURA 2, sale of a portion of real estate and granting of a pedestrian easement, 36 South Avenue. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. URA 3, RURA budget, performance measures, and report. Questions, comments, concerns?
Thanks, Councilmember Patterson.
Councilmember Clifford.
I did find the question that I was wondering about. It's in the 2017 performance report, the item number 5. I was just asking about the North Plymouth Terrace development and the occupancy of the townhomes and apartments. So if somebody could just get that to me.
Yeah, I can get that to you.
Great.
I know they've increased their development, and they're about wrapping up, and I'll get you the report on occupancy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing no questions, I ask for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 64, grant agreement, Flower City Habitat for Humanity. Questions or concerns? Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you, Councilmember Patterson. I just want to thank Habitat. I know Matt and his team are here for all of the work that they do and continue to do in the Josana neighborhood and what a difference it has made. And thank you for being such great partners.
And just a comment, you guys have done great work all over the city, and at some point in time, I need to wrestle you down and get you back over in the Northeast.
Uh-oh.
Questions, comments? So that completes all of our questions and comments. I ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing no opposition, motion passes. All right. Introductory number 65, grant agreement, Flower City Habitat for Humanity, Inc., homeownership pilot program for vacant houses. Questions, comments, concerns? No questions, comments, concerns? Motion. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 66, lease agreement, Port Terminal Building. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you. I just have a question about how community groups and others rent or reserve, whether it's this space or other space in the terminal building. Who is the point of contact for reservations?
Paul Scuderi.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 67, East Avenue, Alexander Street Entertainment District. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing no questions, comments, concerns, I ask for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Here we go. Introductory 92, agreement, DLR Group. Questions, comments, concerns?
Councilmember?
Please.
So I'd just like to ask, in the response I got, it said there's going to be 3 site visits from, is it DLR? I'd just like to make sure there's some way of notifying the arts community and public interest groups to make sure that there's opportunities for anyone who wants to engage to be able to do so.
We definitely will do, have them do direct outreach to all of the arts groups, as well as we will do some from our perspective, because we want everyone that wants to be a part of the discussion to be able to have a voice at these meetings.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Molly's got her hand on mic.
Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you. I guess just for my colleagues, you know, we had talked earlier about doing a study once the legislation comes to us, that we do our own independent study with a cost-benefit analysis. You know, my concern about this is that we're really not, we have a different project and we don't have many details on it. So in some ways, I feel like we are wasting money at this juncture when we can hopefully do our own study when we get the actual project legislation that can encompass these and other points. So that's just my point of view and why I won't support this item. But I guess just about this item, do we have any reason to believe that with the recent additions to the project, the state is more likely to fund it?
Do we have any reason to believe the state supported the first one and they supported the second one in concept? Of course, they are looking to the community for additional support, and they want to see that it is, you know, that there can be financing available, and then, but as it pertains to how the state feels about it, we've talked to our senators, we've talked to people from the governor's office. They think that, and some assembly people think that it's a good idea.
Okay. You know, given their $50 million for Rock the Riverway, which I know we're all grateful for, and given their budget deficits, it just seems a stretch for them. But I guess in that funding and community support world, how are they doing on their fundraising plan?
They have some people that have committed, and they are continuing to, since it has been relaunched. I know that Sandy Parker has reached out to a number of people, and we can get an update on that for you.
Yeah, that would be great. Will Sandy be fundraising for the project? Is that part of her role?
They have outlined that with her and Bob Morgan, as well as RBTL, have outlined her role in her being the spokesperson for the project. And so part of it, of course, would be speaking to different people and talking to them about the project and trying to get their support for it.
Right, okay. I think it would be helpful once the time comes to have a clear idea of what RBTL is doing versus what Morgan is doing versus what Sandy's doing, because it's a little confusing at the moment.
I think that RBTL and Morgan are the developers, and Sandy is just trying to help them get this project done because she believes in the project.
Okay. Just, I guess, my final question. So I know we were talking about an IMAX theater. Is that the piece that we think is going to bring more diversity and more people who might not be able to afford an RBTL ticket? Is that the major intention there?
So I don't think that IMAX type theater is the only component. The entertainment center, of course, having options to have a rooftop concert or a concert out in the public space brings a diverse group of people to be able to work with different arts groups like our Fig and Dance and other entities, local entities that are providing arts entertainment. To be there, to be a part of it is something that's going to be great. Right now, people of all different races, colors, ages actually attend the theater, auditorium theater right now, and so I don't see a major change in pricing structure. Actually, I think that pricing structure may be more beneficial for people that can't afford tickets now because they will have more capacity for seating and more people would be able to go. And so they would be able to provide a wide variety of ticket prices that could help with those individuals that don't have the income to go currently.
All right. That is the $135 million question, right? Is will people be able to afford it, and how so, and what are the surcharges? You know, I'm thinking if we're having surcharges on IMAX tickets, it may make it, you know, less affordable than going to Gates. But all right. Thank you.
So I think that when you look at the project overall, the goal is to make it a convenient place and a inviting place for all the residents of the city of Rochester. When you look at what we're trying to do with downtown, having opportunity with Rochester Riverway to have a lot of green space and programming there, and for people to be able to utilize the river in a new way, this space would be intended for that too, to make it a place where not only all of Rochesterians could utilize it, but also so that people that are visiting and coming here have a place to go to. The theater is just a component of it. It also has a market part of it, so it would be retail there as well.
Thanks.
Councilmember Ortiz?
So is there any way for us to get a little bit more information on the actual scope of the work? I saw some of the questions that they would be, looking at the economic impact, affecting, or the endowment aspect of it. So I saw some of the general areas that they'd be looking at, but is there any way
DLR?
The DL, yes. To get a little bit more, because I think when we had previously talked about it also, we weren't necessarily thinking this price tag. So for the timing plus the price tag and not knowing exactly what they're going to be specifically looking at, is there any more detail that we can get?
So about a couple months ago, we had asked council to submit questions that they wanted a consultant to look at. And again, we already paid for a consultant the first time to look at this, who came back and said that this is a viable option for downtown Rochester. They interviewed and engaged at Westlake Reed, the same company, interviewed, worked with different arts groups. They did that. They came back. They said this is a viable option. They worked with the Lincoln Center in New York City. We took various arts groups there, talked to them, and engaged with them. And their report said that this is a viable option for downtown Rochester. We recognize through discussions with the council president and others that there were some additional questions that council wanted answered. We asked for those questions.
Right.
We sent that to them, and that's what they are going to answer. We added a question in as it pertains to an entertainment complex, and so they will be answering that question as well. And so the questions that they're answering are the questions that you provided to us a couple months ago, saying that you wanted answers to.
So could we get, because I don't know if, even for ourselves, we put a final listing together, including whatever question you just added, the final listing of the things, because in talking to a couple arts organizations, I think that some of them still feel like they haven't necessarily been brought to the table, valid or not, I'm not exactly sure, right? They may have, but some may feel like they haven't. But I just want to make sure, and before we go down, because like you said, we've already spent a significant amount of money on the study portion of this, before we move and do another big chunk of change here, to ensure that we have everything we need for them to measure, absent the rest of the details of the project itself, right? So when reading the press release or looking at this, it's a maybe, a potential, we're exploring. So I know that they're trying to do these things, but I don't know, are we there at a point yet where we know for sure there's going to be a theater, for sure these stage apparatuses are going to be there, so on and so forth, to make sure that as they do these additional questions, it's in the context of what the proposal actually is going to be?
I don't actually understand your question.
So if it potentially changes again, it's not an IMAX maybe, and it turns out that that doesn't work for them and they change it to something else, I don't know. How firm are we in some of these details of where we are now? So as they do this evaluation, answering the questions of what we know of the project today, how confident do we feel that the results that come from this are something we can rely on?
I think that we are very comfortable that, that a theater in downtown Rochester is something that is viable. And I think that that has already been answered several times. And I think that we've paid several consultants to actually answer that question. The expanding it into an entertainment complex and looking at other uses is something that we definitely want to do, because we want to be very, very inclusive with the project, and listening to the community was a huge part of that. You want outdoor, entertainment space, and this project would provide that. And so I think that the concept is very, very clear, and they are going to, we've asked the consultants to come back and look at some very specific things about what is being proposed. But across the country, when you look at cities of our size and what they're doing two things. Many of them have great arts and entertainment, and they have a great state-of-the-art facility that they're providing that in, and they also have a great riverway or water features that they are able to provide opportunities for their residents and visitors to engage in. And so my goal here for the city of Rochester is for us to be able to compete. And we can sit on the sidelines and just think that we're going to be able to compete with the Pittsburghs and the Clevelands and the Grand Rapids and all of that, or we're going to get in the game and do some exciting new stuff that we haven't done before, like Rock the Riverway, like doing a downtown entertainment complex and bringing life and entertainment to downtown. In the last 7 years, we've probably increased population in downtown by 10,000 people. But the one thing that happens is those people, they drive into their the garage, and they go up to their loft, and they stay there, and they come down the elevator, and they go back into their car, and they drive out. We want to be able to draw the residents, the people that are living downtown out. We want our young professionals to have an exciting place to go. We want to be able to give them some entertainment aspects of that and provide visitors with an option as well. And so that's what we're trying to do, make Rochester vibrant and bring people into Main Street like they have at Canal Side in Buffalo.
Right. And I have no doubt that that's exactly what we're trying to do. I just am trying to figure out if we think that the details might change again a little bit, right? Because some of those things weren't there before, now they're there, which again, it seems very positive that we're trying to expand and broaden its usage and what have you. So I think that's great. Okay, so let me ask it a different way. For this, again, this price tag on adding on to the 200-some thousand I think we've already spent on studying these kinds of things. If for some reason things do change where we might have some additional things we would like to explore, is there any way in talking to this particular company that they may potentially look at some additional questions for us in the future without having to go through this long drawn-out process of a full-blown study and for the amount we've already spent? Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I mean, we can ask them that, but I don't think that the concept is really going to change that much. Only thing we're doing is adding some enhancement features. It's not changing, the concept is, you know, how do you create an environment so it's not just a performing arts theater, but actually an entertainment complex that can be used in a versatile way. The rooftop, you know, entertainment venue per se is just adding another feature. It's not necessarily changing the concept of the complex.
But do you think the company would be amenable to being able to do some additional things for us without having to charge us again?
Absolutely. Whatever you want answered now, you're authorizing us to sign a contract with them and to explore that with them. We would definitely take whatever questions you have today to them and see if they can add that to what we've already submitted.
Okay. And then, so then can we get that final listing of what the final questions are that they are, including the ones that you've added, what that final listing actually looks like for us?
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Spall.
Let me just add one thought. We had talked earlier, several of us asked that there be some language that included sort of felt like an obligation, and we know council is never obligated until we always have a chance to vote. And I had heard there was a thought about amending something. I don't see something here, so I just want to go on the record of saying that I'm not going to support this until I'm absolutely clear that somebody put somewhere that council will have an opportunity. By the way, what you've just said to Jackie is really helpful because, you know, we didn't have any information. I see we have a packet here, which is great. So we're hearing about this new complex through the media, through WXXI programming. We didn't have anything. I didn't have anything before today. So this is really helpful for you to share Jackie's thoughts. But it's important to me that we are always in a position to say yes or no after the fact. We may hear what we hear. Listen, we're going to spend $266,000. I'm praying this is our last study. You know, we've been at this a long time. But it's very difficult, I think, to feel obligated in any way as a council. We've learned a lot in the last...
266,000?
Well, we had 200,000, now we have 66,000, right?
Right, but we didn't spend that.
I'm just saying the project has cost...
I just want
No, we didn't fund it all.
Right, we didn't fund it all. So
And you and I know that better than anybody. Yeah. But, you know, I just want to make sure that this council is never accused of not doing its homework. I think we're at a time right now where people are very critical of public officials. This is a very important project. You've put a lot of time and effort into it. I appreciate that. I, for one, will not ever be accused of not asking hard questions every time. I don't think this council wants to be in a position to ever be those people. So bear with us as we ask these because we're getting calls and questions, as I'm sure you are as well. So I was hoping that we would amend this language and take out anything that looked like an obligation. I'm hearing from my colleague he doesn't feel a need to do that, and that's his prerogative. I'm not on the committee, so I'm not going to vote today, but can't vote today. But I do feel pretty strongly, and several of them have asked that question. I don't see the harm in taking that out if it is permissive language and not language that's mandated. So that's just my perspective. I'm being straight with you. I don't like to hold back. But we're at a time right now where public officials in general are being questioned a lot, and this council needs to be above that, always be asking really hard questions. I know you appreciate that. You've been in our seats. So that wasn't a question. That was just a thought. So thank you.
Right, and I would just say that I agree that given the time that we need to be able to share information freely and be able to trust council to keep certain things confidential, and that has not happened. And there are several members of council that have disclosed information that's thought about, that has provided information to individuals that is confidential on the administration side that we know about. And so there's an old, someone great once said the only way to keep a secret between 3 people is if 2 of them are dead. And the fact of the matter is there's a lot of information that's being provided by the administration to council that is getting out that's confidential or only in concept. And so I would gladly be willing to do that. When I was there, we worked as a team with the administration.
Right.
We didn't try to destroy them.
Right. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Councilmember Gruber?
Just one follow-up question to my initial question, because you mentioned, Mayor Warren, in your response, something about an event for someone like Garth Fagan to be able to do. And also mentioned that this has been proven in previous studies to be a viable project. And yet, someone like Garth Fagan, who's a critical member of the arts community, I don't think has been openly supportive of this project up until now. So I assume part of the reason for this study is to gain the buy-in of someone like Garth Fagan, and not to single him out, but smaller arts communities, arts organizations. So to me, it's hard to know without the full scope what the mechanisms are going to be able to foster that buy-in. And I'd love to be able to understand what this organization, DLR, is going to be able to do to have those really, I think, important conversations.
So I don't want to tell you that all arts organizations are going to support this concept, because they're not. I think that our goal is to make sure that they're engaged, to make sure that we've talked to them. One of the things that many arts organizations, especially the smaller ones, they want a black box theater. They want it to be a part of this, and just financially, that would basically make the project unviable and just not cost effective for any of us. And so I think I don't want to tell you that we're going to get every arts organization to buy into this, because they're not. My goal here is to make sure that everyone feels engaged, that they are a part of discussion. We may not get them to agree, but we have to make a decision as a city if we are going to compete on a national scale, or are we going to sit on the sidelines? Many members of council just came back from the National League of Cities, and you see exciting things that other cities are doing, how they're revitalizing themselves, what they're revitalizing themselves. I, as well as my team, many members of our team have gone. We've had the Rose Fellowship come here. We've visited other places. We've seen what they are doing. And my fear is that we are going to be left behind. And I don't want that to happen to Rochester. And so, I'm trying to do everything possible to make sure that we're competitive with different cities that are doing, better things when it comes down to arts, when it comes down to entertainment, when it comes down to green spaces and other things. So I agree with you. We want to engage them. We want them to be part of the process. They were part of the process in the first study. We are bringing this team back to do the same thing. But we also, I don't want to tell you that they're going to agree, but we want them to be a part of the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, we have a robust arts community, and it's going to be impossible to get everyone to feel the same way about a single project. But even what I've learned in the past couple months about some of the opportunities for the auditorium, which really weren't things that have been talked about very much until now, I assume it's going to be part of this study. And I just want to beat a dead horse on this one and be sure that people like Garth Fagan and a whole other host of organizations just get an opportunity to engage, not with the express concern that they're all going to agree on everything. They're not going to, but they all must have opportunity to be in the same room and have a conversation.
Oh, absolutely, and I agree with you 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Council President.
Mayor, I think that we can or should be clear that doing this study and supporting this concept shouldn't be interpreted to mean that we don't support and have concern for the smaller arts organizations. Because as important as it is to have that kind of entity downtown, it's also important to have the other diversity that we have in this town as arts. I think there is fertile ground for us to continue working to find ways that we can support arts organizations. We haven't really looked deep into that. We haven't talked about the 1% or 2% or whatever percent that was that we had talked about some while ago. There's some things that we're going to need to do, because at the same time we support this development, we've got to keep an eye on what's happening with those. And I don't see how moving this forward will pull away our commitment to doing that.
I agree with you, Council President Scott, and I don't think that it would pull away any support from them. We would just have to make a decision on whether we're okay with subsidizing arts groups, and that's literally what we would be doing. So on one hand, we're saying that we don't want to subsidize arts in this concept, and that's the issue. But on another hand, we're saying that we do want to subsidize arts. So I just want to be very, very clear on
Right.
what our intent is, and that we show equity in it.
President Scott, if I could just add, one of the questions that is part of this study is what I think I was Councilman Gruber. Yeah, it happens all the time. One of the questions that's...
It shouldn't.
Yeah, I wear a tie. So one of the... Am I in contempt? So one of the questions, actually, President Scott, that's part of this is what strategies or revenues have comparable cities used to build some sort of arts endowment that help all arts organizations. So like a rental car tax doesn't necessarily have to be a direct subsidy. So we think out of this study we could get some creative suggestions to come up with a plan like that.
Thank you.
Just let me add, there's a fair amount of work that was done on that issue by the administration, actually the past 3 administrations. I don't know where it is, but there are some very, very strong studies that have been done on everywhere from St. Louis to Louisville, and all those are there, and they have been languishing there, actually, as some of us know, for a long time, and I think that's what President Scott and certainly Mayor Warren know. So go back and look at those as well. I wouldn't want to, just my opinion, I wouldn't want to spend our $66,000 doing that when we had already done a lot of that internally. Starting back, I don't know where we would look, Josanne, maybe look where Linda used to sit, I don't know, but a fair amount of work has been done, because this has been an issue for us along the way, and it has been, as Mayor Warren knows well, it has been one of the things that has been kind of a concern around even this big project, and it shouldn't be. It should be 2 sort of separate goals. Garth Fagan wants a 1,000-seat theater. That's what Bill Ferguson wants. I've met with them a million times about this. They know what they want. So Lovely's right. They're probably not going to say, 3,000 seats works for us. But we have to ask them. We have to find a way. And there's so much vibrancy here. And I think in some ways we struggle with having such a powerful arts group and powerful arts organizations, and the Arts and Cultural Commission is back on its feet and doing a great job. So I'm encouraged. I'm very, very encouraged. So I'm grateful for the review. But again, let's look at what we've already done. We've spent a lot of time and money on that, and maybe there's something new. There probably is, because those studies are probably 5 years old. But maybe we can capitalize on some things we've already done. So thank you.
Those studies never looked at like a rental car tax, or they never really studied what other cities are doing to subsidize. They looked at the viability. They looked at how, what the effects will be on, some of them other arts organizations and things like that. But what we're specifically asking them is to look at other cities and find out what they did to create an endowment for the arts,
right,
and where those dollars come from.
Right.
Many of them have either through a rental car tax or through some other mechanism, hotel motel tax. Put a percentage on that to actually go directly towards arts. And so we would need to, of course, work with the county on that. But that's something that some other cities have done, where it's not necessarily coming from government, but actually coming from those individuals that come to visit, come to stay in hotels, come to rent a car into an area.
Right. There's 2 models. One, and I don't want to make this meeting longer than it needs to be. One model is that every construction project and it wouldn't be our money, it would be built into a construction project, that there would be a fair amount, maybe a 0.5% or 1%, actually put aside for public art and enhancements. That's one model. The other model is to have a bit of our own dollars somehow, whether through a CIP-like operation. So there's two different models. Both of them work differently in different cities, but they're both worth looking at. So, you know, again, I think that our work with the 66, the money's going to go quickly, especially if they have to do all the things we're asking them to do. So I think all these questions are important, and the smaller, vibrant arts organizations want to be heard. I know you'll find a way to get them at the table. So thanks.
Thanks.
Councilmember Clifford.
No, I guess I just wanted to clarify that, I mean, we are subsidizing an arts organization. We're asking the state, we're asking our taxpayers to fund 30 million, 45 million, 55 million for this project and advocating for it as opposed to advocating for other public projects. So, I mean, it's not a line item in the city budget, but it is a subsidy.
Any other questions, concerns, comments on this? If not, I ask for a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Introductory, 93. Amending Chapter 120 of the zoning code by adding the overlay limited height district. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I ask for a motion to recommend to the Planning Commission. So moved. And I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Introductory, 94. What do we got here? Actually, it was 93 and 94 together. Amending Charter 120 for the municipal code, zoning code, by changing the zoning classifications of 1092, 1098, 1108, 1116, 1118 through 1120, 1132 through 1138, 1140, 1150, 1174, 1176, 1182, 1186 through 1188, 1190, and 1196 through 1200 Mount Hope Avenue, 25 May Street, 20, 21, 24, and 25 Seward Street, and 10 Gold Street from C1 Neighborhood Center District to C1 Neighborhood Center / O-LH Overlay Limited Height District. May I have a motion to recommend this legislation for review by the Planning Commission?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. That was fun, wasn't it? That completes the work of the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee. Should be everything.
Parks and Public Works Committee is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Evans?
Present.
Councilmember Gruber?
Here.
Councilmember Spall?
Here?
Vice President McFadden? Here. President Scott?
Here.
We are joined by our other colleagues. Introductory number 68 is authorizing an amendatory agreement with Edge Architecture PLLC. Questions, comments, concerns around introductory 68? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Introductory 69 is authorizing an agreement for design services for the Brewery Line Trail. Questions, comments, concerns around 69? Hearing none, have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, thank you. Number 70 is authorizing an agreement for the design of the Mount Hope Cemetery site enhancements. People are dying to get in here.
You had to go there, huh? Oh. You just had to do it.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Questioning you. Questioning you right now. No. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, thank you. Introductory number 71, amending ordinance number 217-36 and appropriating funds for the 2019 Preventative Maintenance Northwest Group 5 project. Councilwoman Clifford.
Thank you. I do have one question. I'll probably say this until this is done. Can we just remember that that stretch of Lake Avenue from Lake Ontario State Parkway to Beach Avenue is very busy for our short summer months, and so anything we can do to not impact traffic during that time period next year would be great.
Councilperson Clifford, that will definitely be part of our plan.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to approve 71.
Moved.
Move second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Introductory number 72, amending ordinance number 2017-11 and appropriating funds for the 2020 Preventative Maintenance Northeast Project 9. Questions, comments?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 73, authorizing an agreement for resident project representation services for the Hazardous Sidewalk Replacement Program, Southwest Quadrant 2018 Phase 1 project. Questions, comments? Motion
moved.
approved. Moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Introductory number 74 is a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $1.241 million in bonds of the said city to finance certain costs of the Southwest Quadrant 2018 Hazardous Sidewalk Replacement Program.
That's southeast. Thank you.
Southeast.
Thank
Of
you.
course, the councilwoman from
So
the southeast
moved.
is southeast. I was trying to help Adam out over there.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Your ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 75, authorizing a change in traffic flow on Pendo Alley. A public hearing will be held at 5 p.m. After the March 15, 2018 committee meeting. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I knew it. Councilmember Patterson.
Okay, so like, what? The traffic, you're gonna flip the direction of the traffic. You're gonna make it harder for me to find a place to park, which my colleague was already complaining about. And you're gonna change the entire progression of transiting through our.
Not about you, Michael.
It is. Transiting through this parking lot. Please explain your rationale for doing this.
Well, Councilperson Patterson, we did not do this to make your job harder in finding a parking place. It was the basic need to change the actual traffic flow because the line of sight has been changed. When we put in an emergency generator that makes this building fully redundant, we brought out the actual area of the building further. So when you go down Pendle Alley from the direction that it's one way with now, there's a blind spot and a potential pinch point for traffic where you can have a collision. We vetted this through the Monroe County Traffic Engineering Bureau, which are our traffic engineers that agreed with us and feels that we should change that flow of traffic. So it was not intended to make your life harder. It was intended to make sure that there's not a blind spot where people can have a potential collision.
Thank you.
Anything else on this?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 76 is authorizing an agreement with Joseph C. Liu Engineering, P.C. Questions, comments, concerns?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Introductory number 77, authorizing an agreement for the Gardner Firehouse upgrades. Questions, comments?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. And introductory number 78 is the bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $711,000 in bonds of said city to finance the cost of the 2018 Gardner Firehouse renovation project. Questions, comments?
So moved.
Moved second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Our final introductory is introductory number 79, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester Housing Authority. Questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. If there is no more business to come before the committee, we are adjourned. Thank you.
At this time, I want to call the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lightfoot.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz. Vice President McFadden.
Present.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that we are here with all the rest of our colleagues. Introduction number 80, authorizing an agreement with New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory number 80 passes. Introduction number 81, authorizing an agreement with Leads Online Incorporated. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move to adopt.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Introduction number 82, authorizing an agreement with Government Payment Services Incorporated. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Introductory number 83, authorizing acceptance of Petco Foundation grant for animal services. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I actually just want to note, this is my third council meeting, and I think the third time we've approved something from the Petco Foundation. So I'm just curious if there's some type of list of all the different dollars we get from this foundation, and if there's a way that we can ultimately have some type of thank you event for them, because it seems that they're quite generous with the city.
We can do that, and we can plan something, or thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions, comments, concerns?
Oh, someone in the back.
Yes.
Chris is there.
Sorry, the mic's not working. Just for clarification, this is different grantor. So the previous one was PetSmart Charities. Ah, PetSmart.
Yes.
A rival. Thank you.
Awesome.
I take back what I said about thanking them. I'm just joking.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Introductory number 84, authorizing an agreement with SK Concerts Incorporated for concert series management services. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Madam President. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there any other business to come before the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee? If none, we are adjourned. Oh, you got something? Okay. Councilman McFadden.
So on my way over here, I was over at School 4, and I see Chief Simonelli is not here. So Deputy Chief Simmons, I'll address this to you. And it wasn't RPD. It was the state troopers. They had pulled over a car in front of School Number 4's parking lot during dismissal. Had to be about 3 state trooper cars, pull someone over. I'd like the details as to why, because they ended up letting the person go. But it was during dismissal time. Caused a lot of confusion, looked really bad. They could have actually pulled the person down the street to avoid interrupting the school day. But it was my thought that when police officers from other branches come into the city, that they are supposed to announce themselves before doing this type of thing, because it was I would say it was a very troubling look to have that happen in front of an elementary school with 300 kids trying to get on a bus.
They were earlier, I'm not sure what's wrong with them.
So I can research to find out what exactly led to the traffic stop in front of School Number 4, is what you said? Yes, this was about 3:20 today. So I'll research to find out what led into it, but to answer your other question about announcing themselves. It was a traffic stop based on the violation that they observed outside of the city. They can follow a person into the city without necessarily announcing, just to conduct a traffic stop. Typically, if you're going to make an arrest, a high-profile arrest or a violent crime arrest, they will announce themselves so that way we can find them a backup. But it's not an official policy that if they conduct a traffic stop, that they will announce themselves. But I will follow up and give you more information.
Is that to your satisfaction, Councilman McFadden?
Not to my satisfaction would happen, but the answer yes.
Right. Thank you. Any other business to come before the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee?
I would just like to acknowledge that our commissioner that you're going to interview and we'll be doing a confirmation session, I believe, on Tuesday is here. Danielle Collier Torres is here, and Danielle Lyman Torres is here, and wanted to just introduce her to council so that she can acknowledge, so that you can acknowledge her.
Today.
Yeah, we're
It's
going to
today?
confirm her
It's
today.
It's like as soon as we get done here.
Yep. So
Why did I think it was on Tuesday?
That's when it'll actually be
We're gonna vote
voted
on
on.
Tuesday.
voted, yeah.
But the
okay.
confirmation
All right.
hearing is
I'm
right
sorry.
now.
All right,
Yes.
well, you'll be confirming her, hopefully, but wanted to acknowledge her while she's here.
great. I too want to say that I did have a meeting with Ms. Torres this morning, and I was very impressed with her vision for going forward, and I'm looking forward to our confirmation. So thank you, Mayor, and I'm expecting my colleagues to be impressed with her as well. So if there's no other further business to come before the Public Safety, Youth and Recreation, we'll be adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I
Thank
would
you.
like to call the Arts and Culture Committee to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Spall,
Here.
Councilmember Clifford,
Here.
Councilmember Patterson, Vice President McFadden, President Scott.
Here.
Thank you, and everyone else is still hanging out, which is great. Introductory number 85, authorizing an agreement for the 2018 Gus Macker 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Questions, comments? Yippee, I hear, is that a clap? Councilmember Lightfoot?
I just like to, I remember the old Teddy Tees when they were back, and it's good to see that this is going on. Brings out a lot of people in our community, especially our youth. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think so too. Can
Then
I
I'll
have a
move to
motion?
adopt.
Yeah? Motion?
Move it. Mhm.
So moved in second. All in favor? Aye. And I say aye, passes 5-0. Introductory number 86, authorizing an agreement with Yellow Jacket Racing LLC. Any questions, comments? Second? Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye, passes 5-0. Thank you, and no other business. We are adjourned.
We are going to move right into confirmation hearing for,
We have to wait till 5.
I'm sorry,
It says 4:45.
it's the public hearings we still got to do. I'm in a rush.
President Scott, you still have to call the committee of the whole, and you'll want to hold the legislation until the committee meeting, or until the confirmation hearing.
Okay. So, do we need a motion to,
You'll want to call the committee of the whole to order, have the clerk call the roll, read the item, and then hold it.
got it. The clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Clifford,
Here.
Councilmember Evans,
Present.
There it
Councilmember
is.
Gruber,
There it is.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot,
Present, ma'am.
Councilmember Ortiz, Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember Spall,
Here.
Vice President McFadden, President Scott.
Thank you, and we're joined by everybody, aren't we? Yes.
That was everybody.
So we are, for introductory number 87, a resolution confirming the appointment of the Commissioner of Recreation and Youth Services. We are looking for a motion to hold in committee pending tonight's confirmation hearing.
So move.
Is there a second?
It doesn't require a motion, you can just hold it.
It says motion.
That was an error on our office's part, I apologize.
It will be held in the committee pending tonight's confirmation hearing. Thank you. Okay. So we will begin the confirmation hearing. I'm sorry, the public hearing. I am all jacked up tonight. The meeting will come to order, and the clerk will call the roll for our public hearing. I'd ask the clerk to begin the hearings. We've done the roll, right? We got to call the roll again.
Councilmember Clifford,
Still here.
Councilmember Evans,
Present.
Councilmember Gruber,
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot, Councilmember Ortiz, Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember Spall,
Here.
Vice President McFadden, President Scott.
Yeah. Here. I now ask the clerk to begin the hearings.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter. approving the sale of a portion of real estate and granting a pedestrian easement through 36 South Avenue, introductory number URA2. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: local improvement ordinance establishing the cost of special services for the East Avenue/Alexander Street Entertainment District, introductory number 67. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing a change in traffic flow on Pendle Alley, introductory number 75. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Councilmember If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed. That concludes our public hearing for this month. Thank you for any who came out for that. This legislation will be acted upon at our full council meeting on March 20th at 7:30 p.m. Meeting adjourned. Okay. So now, dear colleagues, oh, we got a 15-minute break? We advertised for 5:15. Okay. So we'll begin the confirmation hearing at 5:15 p.m. Wait, I mean, he's here. Might as well. Sure.
I mean, gotten to the point. Oh, got to know. During the campaign.
fill it in today. Would everyone please take your seats? Okay. We're now going to have the confirmation hearing for the Department of Recreation and Youth Services Commissioner position. The meeting will come to order, and the clerk will call the roll, please. Councilmember Clifford.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Lightfoot. Councilmember Ortiz. Here. Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Spall.
Here.
Vice President McFadden.
Here.
President Scott. Here. Thank you. The charter requires that we have a confirmation hearing for the Commissioner of the Department of Recreation and Youth Services. That action will be before us for consideration as introductory number 87 at this month's council meeting. Mayor Warren, would you like to make a statement regarding the appointment of Ms. Lyman Torres?
Yes, Council President Scott. I have known Ms. Lyman Torres for a number of years and have experience in seeing her great work in the community. Having worked for a number of different community-based organizations, as well being COO of RGRTA, she has a unique perspective on organizational structure as well as management. And I think that she would be great as the Commissioner of the Department of Youth and Recreation Services. Having someone with her dynamic background and expertise is something that I think that we need in that department. And I'm glad that she agreed to join the team, and I'm asking council to please confirm her after this hearing on Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Warren. Ms. Lyman Torres, would you like to make an opening statement?
Thank you. Testing? Is it working? Can you hear me?
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, council member.
No, it's not.
Is it light on?
Is the green light on?
Okay. We'll just switch this around. Okay.
Here you go.
Thank you, council members, and good evening. I would like to provide a brief introduction to my background and expected contributions to the DRIVES department in the city of Rochester. 18 years ago, I was privileged to work for a strong and impactful nonprofit CEO, Bob Peters of Heritage Christian Services. He inspired me to want to rise to the level of influence to have a major impact on the community in the way that he did for the people that he represented. As then an HR professional, I sat down and reviewed my current competencies to identify the gaps that I would need to work on to reach that goal. And I mapped out that plan. I needed fundraising, board governance, experience with more complicated funding streams, public relations, labor relations, and to understand the role of public service in major community projects. I sought these competencies by selecting top-notch examples and opportunities to gain these skills while advancing in level of oversight and management along the way. My choice to go to United Way was purposeful to gain fundraising and board governance skills that I would need. My transition to what is now called Trillium Health was in response to needing to understand the complexities of human services as they transition under Medicaid, and to understand how to navigate and obtain complicated federal and state grants. My move to RGRTA provided me with exposure to labor relations and a real community partnership in a large project with the community. After 8 years of being a COO, I was ready to apply those skills as a CEO. At the Arc of Yates, I faced a significant turnaround situation, including a failing preschool and children's program. After 3 years of building and developing, they are both programmatically and financially sustainable. It was a progressive and purposeful 18-year plan to get to this point today. I look forward to entering into a new plan of putting all of that experience to use for long-term community development. And in conclusion, the relevant contributions I bring include being a Rochester native, a youth who benefited from the rec centers and from SWAN, I have firsthand knowledge of the importance of youth development programs. I have led the development of some targeted youth education programs and initiatives. My HR and vocational backgrounds will ensure that the design and implementation of employment programs get results. My collaborative leadership style will ensure that all community stakeholders and partner organizations are accessed and engaged for expert level opportunities. My commitment to quality and excellence will be evident in an increased awareness of and investment in the programs and services offered. And finally, the extensive experience I have as a grant writer for local, foundation, state, and federal grants will help to bring additional resources to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Just let me say congratulations on your nomination and hopefully appointment. I think that your background is excellent and well-suited, and it's always great to see someone who benefited from youth programs being in that position, because I think that will serve you well. My question is, I'm not at the city school district anymore, thank God. I'm glad to be here. My question is, but there is a great opportunity and a strong relationship right now between the district and recreation. How do you see strengthening that, and just your overall views on what recreation can do to continue to reinforce to our young folks the importance of education, kind of building on what's been being done over the last couple of years in terms of education and recreation?
Absolutely. What I have come to learn about the programs and services offered today in recreation are different from 20, 30 years ago, and it's markedly evident that there has been a transition in focus to educational programming, nutrition, and other areas that will benefit the holistic child and children. And I think that continuing to work collaboratively with the school district will be imperative, but I've also come to learn that there's an opportunity to bring all of the many different ways that we collaborate together and really streamline and understand how we can support the work that they're doing with the children that we get after school, weekends, that we can really reinforce all of the things that we can do to bring impact on literacy, impact on nutrition, and many other areas that they are working with us on. But I do think there's an ability to kind of bring that together a little bit more and more cohesively because it's still kind of operating in silos, and I think there's a way to bring that together to have greater achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Fantastic resume. And I think it's an incredible opportunity because although the city has a lot of assets, I don't think there's very many greater than the public market and our centers. And so this is a really, and it's not just because of the people sitting in the back of the room either. I truly mean that. There's a lot of work. I do a lot of work revolving around the social determinants of health. Certainly, all the work you've done in the nonprofit sector, you've come across some of the data and studies that talk about how we need to create healthier environments, especially for our youth. And right now, I think playability is a really exciting topic. How do we make our city a more playable space for youth? And that's not just inside of the art centers, but it's also in every way possible. Not just in on their street, but also in public spaces, so on and so forth. And of course, not all that stuff is going to come back to the Commissioner of Dries. But I'm wondering if you've engaged with any of the work being done around playability and have any thoughts around how to create a more playable city for our youth.
I have seen some of that research, and I have seen some of the cities who are case studied in that research and how they've implemented some of those things. And I think as the plans progress for the city to achieve some of these kinds of designations and accreditations, those are the kinds of things that I would be working on to contribute to that plan and to those plans. So yes, I mean, I am familiar, and I do think that that all of those things will come into alignment because I'm understanding that there are recognitions and accreditations that the city would like to pursue, and playability is one of those factors, and as well as recreation and parks, and so from that lens, I'm prepared to support the positioning of the city in those innovations.
That's great. And we have some fantastic resources. I mean, obviously, outside of the art centers with Rec on the Move, but also just some of the work that's been done in the neighborhoods in the last couple of years, some of the work being done around the Healthy Kids organization. There's just a lot of real traction for playability, and I think coming in with that lens will be very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Lyman Torres, when we talked earlier today, you were telling me about how you were going to quantify outcomes. I think can you explain a little bit about that, please?
Absolutely. I am completing my doctorate at this point and working on my dissertation, and more so than ever, being able to quantify outcomes for what you are doing in any aspect of community, and being able to add research and value to the programs and services that we know work, and we know that they feel good and they're the right things to do, but being able to quantify those outcomes in a way that we can report to the community, and that we can really add more value to some of these standings, and recognition that the city has moved from what recreation used to look like to a real more holistic picture of growth and development. I think that kind of quantifiable information is going to add a significant value moving forward.
I agree. Thank you.
Madam President, can you look over here too? I've been raising my hand the whole time. Go ahead.
I'll concede to Vice President McFadden. You go first.
Hello.
Hello.
You talked about quantifying results. What tools would you use to do that? What measurement tools?
I think we would want to look at what kinds of assessments there are that we can use to measure the impact that we might have on, on literacy, on wellness. There's a number of assessment tools that are already in place and accredited and established. So we wouldn't look to create those, but we would look to implement those.
Can you identify any?
There's one, STARS, for example, that the school district uses that surrounds literacy. And by the work that we do, if we have some of that data and information that we can look at what children are rating before our interventions and what they rate after, we can do some correlation and regression analysis to see if there is an impact from the work that's being done. So I think that's one example of an assessment, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that we team and partner with, in particular, the school district in terms of some of the assessments that we would do that have to do with academics and those kinds of literacy tools.
Well, I'll say this because this is just the profession that I'm in. The tools that we normally use around youth development, and if you talk to any youth development professional, we kind of steer away from the academic measurements because the interventions, if they're not, in terms of the dosage, consistent, which rec does not have the ability to do because it's a drop-in rec center, you can't measure that. So I'm just going to let you know that if a kid comes once every 3 weeks, the dosage and the measurement for that does not exist. The way our rec centers are designed right now would be impossible to measure that. But you can measure other things like quality of programming. So you would use tools like the YPQI tool or YPQA tool. Mm-hmm. There are other tools that you can use, the NISAN tool. So I want to be very clear about when we talk about assessments with the district and academics, we have to be very careful about that when we have the type of programming that we do in rec centers. Our kids are not consistent enough in our rec centers to have that type of measurement. Unless a kid is coming every day consistently, every day of the week, you could do that. I run an after-school program that requires that. Even then, data sharing with the district can be very difficult, which we've been working on for a while. And also, even with that dosage, I would be very careful of allowing intervention with someone who does not have an academic background teaching literacy because, again, the measurement could be skewed. This is something I do for a living. So when I hear this, my antennas went up because I'm very cautious about what you just said. That's just because of what I do.
No, thank you. And I think that before anything like that would even be implemented, again, back to the collaborative nature, is pulling together the right people and the experts and the people who are working in the field, not in just the school district, but in the community-based organizations that are supporting, and making sure that whatever we move forward with to measure is the right thing and using the right tools. So thank you for those recommendations.
I want to add to that as well. I had the same kind of reservation upon hearing that. I think some of it has to deal with the theory and philosophy that you come into the department with. There's always a tension between recreation and play and the other more forms of youth development. I, for one, believe that structured recreation and play have value, especially when young people are under so much pressure throughout the day in school or whatever they're trying to pursue, that play can be a healthy thing. And recreation sometimes gets called upon to measure things that can't rightfully be measured and almost in a way shouldn't have to be. So I would just want to hear from you more in the coming months about how you would approach that, striking that balance.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Swallow.
I might as well continue. It's nice to see you again. You know, one of the things that you talked about is youth development, and we're all, some of us are, you know, deep into that. And I just wonder, and I'm going to follow up sort of, President Scott sort of set this up for me, thank you. What is your philosophy? When you think about youth development, how can you describe the way you approach the whole, what is your philosophy? Because I for one, am deeply supportive of structured free play, safe free play in safe spaces, in places that may be unusual play places, because that's where our kids are. We don't want them putting a basketball hoop in the middle of the street, but sometimes that happens. So I just am wondering if you have your own thoughts about what your approach to youth development is and how you would describe your own youth development philosophy.
I would describe it as that balance. I have a great appreciation for play and free play and structured play. In fact, that's been my largest experience with youth development as a youth myself, was through a structured program that was not academic, but was structured, and it provided a lot of support for me. And I think, and coming from an unstructured world in my other life, so that provided structure for me that was helpful. But I do think there is a balance of allowing children the freedom to just exercise their energy, but also the rec centers are called upon to sometimes support children with other things when they present those, and I think we need to be equipped to do that. And whether that's partnering, referrals, we don't need to be the ones that have to deliver all of those other things, but we need to be able to connect the children with what they're needing. And if they're needing something other than structured play, then we need to be able to connect them to that. So my philosophy is really about meeting the child where they are, each individual child and young person. And they will be all in different places and all coming from different things and all have different needs. And we can't provide everything, but we can provide access to those who are in the community providing these things that they might need. And that's really what I think our role would be.
So here's what I hope. I hope that you will continue to do the work. This department is really solid. You've got some wonderful people working with you. I hope they'll continue to look at every child and young adult in our community and find what's right with them instead of what's wrong. That's a youth development philosophy, where you look at a child or a young person and you don't immediately identify all their deficiencies. You find what's right, you find their assets, you build on those, and then if you got a little things to tweak here or there like we all do, that would be great. So that is a role that rec centers, our centers, and the work you're doing is really essential, because our young people don't always get anybody who think they're worth much And that is a place, a safe place, and the structured plan, all that is good. But the philosophy has to be to look at those children with such praise and promise, and that's what my help will be, and I'm here to help you in any way I can, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember McFadden.
I would just like to add, I'd like to see the department move towards becoming more of a trauma-informed care provider for young people. Our people are facing a lot of trauma. We discuss it as agencies, but I'm not sure that the city, in terms of its staff in this particular department, have gone there to get people trained, but I think it's important to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I meant Vice President McFadden. Excuse me, please.
Has Molly been waiting all this time?
It's okay. I thought I missed my turn earlier, so I'm
Just before we do that, I
Yep.
realized that I'm not sure I know what the R stands for. Yeah.
It stands for,
It stands for more than that, right? More than
so it stands for recreation. Don't ask.
Okay, then. Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you, President Scott. And I guess just more specifically building off what people are talking about in terms of opportunities to play in whatever way, I just want to call your attention to the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation grants that are being made available in Western New York, $5 million to create play spaces. It sounds like you're aware of them, and in the Northwest District, where we have some geographical challenges for our kids to be able to get to our centers and, ease of access. I hope that the city will play a leadership role. I hope you'll play a leadership role in supporting some grant applications here.
Absolutely. I had seen that just in the work that I was already doing and planning to, and had already attended their work sessions in that life, and bring all of that with me, and certainly have thought of many ideas to, again, one outlet to try to leverage some of those other dollars for the work that we do.
Right. We've got lots of ideas, but we don't often have access to the dollars, so that's great.
Actually, point of clarity, the city did have a representative on the advisory group for the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation money, and I was on it as well. But
Great.
they did have a rep. I think it was Tony Jordan when he was employed here. I'm not sure who represented the organization after that, but they helped to design and developed, E-Rose, okay.
Yeah.
They helped to design and develop what the grants would go towards in terms of funding. So that, we did have someone there from the city.
That's great.
Okay. Now, for that old standby challenge and opportunity question. You've started work at the R centers. Tell me what you believe is the greatest challenge you will encounter early on.
I think the greatest challenge will be really trying to figure out the best way to increase community awareness and community engagement. I would say that, there are so many things that the department does, and so many things that it does well, and so many things that it does for the community that I'm not sure everyone in the community is aware. And I know there was a significant branding effort undertaken, and I know that has had an impact, but I still think that there's a lot more that can be done. And I think the biggest challenge is trying to understand, what is the right message, and how to get that to the right people and at the right time. So I think really that's the biggest challenge as I enter, is there's such a breadth of programming in trying to package that in a way that we can engage more people in understanding and participating. I think is probably going to be, I think, both a challenge and an opportunity, but I'll leave it in the challenge category for now.
And what is the greatest opportunity?
I think the greatest opportunity is to get more, to have more of these collaborative kinds of conversations, and not just in subcontracting programming, but in collaborative discussions about the right paths forward for some of these other vision points. the right path forward for designing a strategic plan and a direction for the work that this department is responsible for. And so I think that's the greatest opportunity. It's not to say there's not collaborations now, there's a lot, but to bring those in a different way, to collaborate on strategy and planning. And I'm sure that's been done in the past. I'm not saying that it hasn't, but right now I would see that as the great opportunity for the future.
This question may sound a little off base, but you've got a tremendous experience and a great skill set. But how do you feel about the youth and the community and the participants? Why do you want this job?
Those youth are me. I am those youth. I am those youth. I am the little girl who grew up on Clifton Street and hanging out on Jefferson Avenue, and for some time didn't have anything to do. The rec centers existed at the time. They just weren't for me. And I wasn't drawn to them or engaged to them. I was engaged to getting in other kinds of trouble and with other people, and being surrounded by people who were not finding success. And I see so much opportunity in having an impact on that, in showing children who have the same kind of experience, and even those who don't, that there's a different opportunity for them, and that's a huge part of the work that this team does. And it's inspiring, and it is personal, and I've waited a long time for an opportunity to do that here in my own community. And so this is a chance of a lifetime to influence the people who look like me, who represent where I come from, and all of those others, not to exclude anyone, but that's specifically my inspiration and my passion. And this is the ultimate opportunity to do that, and I'm very grateful to be even sitting here with you today.
Oh, Vice President.
Wild Wild West or CTP?
CTP.
Let me ask this question. As soon as you said Clifton Street,
Yes, I know.
So let me ask you this question. Have you had an opportunity yet to see the proposed budget for your department that's coming up? As you talk about strategic planning, have you had a chance to look at that and the past budget or the current budget?
Yes, I have.
You have?
Yes.
Do you have any ideas about how you would reshape that to meet some of the things that you're talking about, or have you had an opportunity to get that far?
Yes, I did, and we'll be working on that in the warp speed it will require in order to be able to meet the timelines in front of us. But I have and been working on that, absolutely.
Any additional questions, comments? There being none, we thank you so much for your time, and this hearing will be acted upon on Tuesday night at our full council meeting, March 20th, 7:30 p.m. Thank you. This hearing's adjourned.
What's that young elected official thing though?
Okay, bottom.